Good morning. Welcome to Spirit Sessions of View the Light. And I am joined by my special co-host, Nancy, Louise, the Magic Cat Lady, and Jen Soto, our guest from Ecuador. But before we get into all that, and I want to welcome you, please like this show. Please subscribe to our YouTube, our podcast, like and follow. The more viewers we get, the more points I get at the end of the week. No, that's not really. And I'll qualify for a prize, which is I get to come on next week. So everybody, just shout out to Teresa, who's off having some family time. Shout out to Bax, who's out working. Sorry, Bax. We really miss you, and we really want you to get here again. Yeah. And all my other guest co-hosts, who I always forget to mention when I have them on. So I thought I'd do better this week. So Nancy Louise won't pull a card for me this week, so I'm going to pull a card.
Ready.
So I'm pulling a card from the Sacred Forest. It's Canadian Colette. This is from Denise Lind. This is from Denise Lind, who lives in California. And hers is the Sacred Forest. And this is Spirit Guardian of Winter Retreat. That's kind of scary, but it's the weather up here is getting cooler. I guess it's winter in Ecuador.
Summer. Coming into winter. Summer.
Coming into winter. Okay.
Right at the equator.
Oh, you're right at the equator. So you're still sort of in the northern hemisphere. So this is retreat, and it shows a beautiful snow globe. So even though it's summer for most of us who are watching today, and we love you people that live in the southern hemisphere, it's a retreat, which means just take today to rest and ponder all the wonderful joy in your life and count the snow globe. Take out your snow globe and shake it and dream a little bit. That's what I think today is about. So take out your snow globe, dream a little bit, and then we will talk to Jen, who's going to talk about finding joy in the midst of chaos. And a lot of us think we have chaotic lives. And it's good to step back and see that there is joy in change and there's joy in chaos. And it's all about perceptions. So, Jen, I'm going to put you on the big screen, and could you introduce yourself and tell us your original story and maybe a little bit about Ecuador, because all we know about Ecuador is one of the swimmers got knocked off the Olympic team this week, if you've been watching.
Yeah, but we won gold in the speed walking and men's.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that, but it's great. Awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't keep that pace at all. It's hard to keep any pace. But thank you very much, all of you, for inviting me here and letting me share myself and my story and why I'm here in your show and here on the planet. And again, my name is Jennifer Soto, and I live in Quito, Ecuador. I live actually in a little village, a pueblo outside of Quito called Tumbaco. And my husband's Ecuadorian. And after our children were raised and our parents had all moved to wherever they were moving into the spirit realm, we came down here to finish a construction project, an investment we had. And we came down here in 2019, Thanksgiving Day, great day to travel, great rates. And we've been here for 4 years. And at first, I literally had to get in, sit down, shut up, and hold on. My Spanish was okay. I mean, I have good Spanish, but when you're in another culture without fish sandwiches from McDonald's or McDonald's coffee, you have to adjust. And the first few months were an adjustment to living in a third world country and understanding the speech and the language and the patterns and the life and why the heck am I here? What have I done? In smiling and keeping harmony in the home. And it was a super big adjustment for me. But it gave me the opportunity to leave everybody behind. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. I was the mom who would, the phone calls, Mom, can you? Mom, can you? Mom, can you? And absolutely, I moved across country to be granny nanny for my oldest daughter's first child while she was doing some medical training. And I've always been that person. I'm a fantastic caregiver. And I love that. I mean, I had older parents. I held them as they passed, which was, a blessing and sad. But I'm a caregiver. And so coming to Ecuador, I had to leave all that behind me because I was getting distracted in what I needed to do for me by all the outside needs. And so coming to Ecuador was the way to do it when you're thousands of miles away and only on WhatsApp, because that's the life here. Everything is different. And so Ecuador is in South America. You have United States, and then South America, Central America comes down from the, Texas and California and through Mexico, and then there's Central America. It's Mexico and then Central America. And at the tail end of Central America is the Panama Canal, as we know, cuts across, and the Panama is the tail of Central America that then comes it down into South America. And so when you come in through Panama, the first place you hit is Colombia. I believe there's also on the other side, but the map is not in my head. And so here's South America, here's the United States, here's Mexico and Central America, and then you get into Colombia through Panama, and then right below Colombia on the Pacific coast is Ecuador. And then right under Ecuador on the Pacific coast is Peru, and it goes down to Chile. And so we are on the Pacific coast with all the beautiful sunrise, sunsets, and oceans, and that we have, in California, which is where I spent 99% of my life. And it's lovely. Like I said, it is a third world country. So there are things that are not available and things that are done and not done that are completely different to me. So it's been an adjustment, but it's when you have to learn something new at my tender age of almost 62, I'll be 62 on Friday. It challenges every aspect of your life: cooking, shopping, planning, driving, understanding, listening, learning. It challenges everything. And that gave me the opportunity to pull myself out of what I might have considered stagnation in my spiritual life, because I was where I was comfortable. And when you get out of your comfort zone, you can either be miserable or you can redefine your comfort zone, which is perception. And that's what we'll talk about in a minute. But in Ecuador, it's a very small country. It's called the Amazon country because it does touch the Amazon rainforest. And it is on the equator, which is what Ecuador means in Spanish, equator. And so we are at 0 latitude, 0 latitude, 0 latitude. And there's a place called La Mitad del Mundo, which means middle of the earth, or middle of the world. And it's the line that goes right around the center of the earth. And you can stand with one leg on the left and one leg on the right, and your body is split by the hemispheres. It's really interesting. And also you can take an egg and balance it on the pinhead of a needle or like a nail. And you can balance that egg perfectly because of the equilateral pressure. So that's my Ecuador. And I love it because I see my husband. This is his home. This is his country. And we're in the United States, and we've been married 21 years. So we stayed there 16 years. And when our parents were gone, we came down here and I saw him relax, because now he's in his country with his food and this is his home. And so for me to shift and learn to be here and go through the inconveniences of living in a foreign country and learning even more deeper how to be immersed in a language, it was challenging, but I realized that this is an opportunity to grow that I may never get anywhere else. We go to Europe for a week or two, we go to different places, but to actually integrate a society into who you are is a blessing, especially when I thought that maybe I had learned all I could possibly learn about change. And that's what I needed, was change. And during this process, there's been a lot going on in my life for the shifting to this country. And I was able to find my tagline of joy in the midst of chaos through the process of loss in our family from a breach that occurred about 4 years ago. And when I first heard the term joy in the midst of chaos, listening to Cryon, I don't know how many Cryon fans there are out there, but in the very beginning of my walk, somebody had recommended to me to listen to Cryon. And at first I didn't want anybody to hear me listening to Cryon because I didn't want anybody to think I was going to church, because he has somewhat of a cadence in his timbre of voice. But then I had to turn it up louder and louder and listen to it. It's like, is this real? Is this real? And he talked about old souls. And I was like, am I an old soul? I knew nothing. And so going through that process of really defining who I am and then learning about joy in the midst of chaos, I started working on learning about joy in the midst of chaos from an observer's point of view, not from a person who was in the middle of chaos. And so what I learned was that chaos is a process of change. And it's not, we can look around us in any country you live in any city, anywhere, families, friends, work. The world right now is in chaos. We know that. Things are changing. How we perceive that chaos will determine how we come out of the change and how we go in. How will we survive? In energy work, we know that change takes a while. Change can be immediate. People get instant healings through energy work, and it can be a long process, because it's through going through the process where we really learn how to be someone different. Not because we're wrong or bad, but how to shed the things that cause us to express ourselves in ways that are not productive and not to the best for our friends, our family, our world, or even for us. And so in this chaotic environment that I ended up in my family, I had to really sit down, buckle up, sit down, shut up, and get in, sit down, shut up, and do the work of finding the foundation of my peace so that I could find joy in the midst of chaos. And what I found was that the joy of knowing that I am a valuable human being and I'm here to do work, and this chaos in my life is fine-tuning me. It's the pressure in 10 million degrees that makes a diamond beautiful. And through the process of understanding what really is joy, what is joy to me? Joy to me is the absence of fear, the absence of anger, the absence of the negative energies and the feelings that I carried around for years because I didn't know what else to do with them. And so I can see, if you sit back and you see what's going on in the world and what people are doing, people around you, people who love you and are close to you, and they're acting less than stellar. It's a chaotic moment emotionally because we want to, I would blast or rearrange them with words because I'm very good with words. But the ultimate goal here is to let the chaos happen, because the chaos has nothing to do with me. It's generally about what other people are stirring up in their own lives. And so if I sit back in the chaos and just be joyful that I'm learning and I've been given the opportunity to neutralize something that's coming my way for a reason. And when you find that joy and you can step out of the chaos, out of the drama, out of the complications, you have the opportunity to go, this is what it's like to be just an observer and not to get it all on me. And then you can go about your business doing what you're doing to be a blessing to whomever you're supposed to be a blessing for. But when we see chaos, the first reaction, depending on our trauma and our drama from past lives and from childhood, our subconscious, which is 95% we have in our heads, brings up the old emotions that are really hard set. They're hardwired in you. They're chemical reactions that are historical memories of how we acted and reacted before. And those are the first things that we pull out of our bag of tricks to deal with the challenges in life. And to break that process, especially when we're coming into a situation that can be anxiety causing or fearful or destructive, destroying, terrible, life changing, those are the greatest lessons that we are being given. I always say, the more painful or difficult the situation, the greater is the lesson and the blessing we'll get at the end. And even though I'm still in the midst of the chaos of my family, I have absolute joy. And I've been able to really help smooth out the communication that will bring us back together as a family so we can live with love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude. And in the midst of the darkness, when my family went through this, was why is this happening? Why? How many times do we ask ourselves, why is this happening? And the question is not why. Regardless of whatever we're asking, the question why is really not the first question. The question is, what do I need to learn? So this issue is coming up in my life. What do I need to learn? And when you find the answer, then the lesson becomes much more, I want to say, survivable or less anxiety. And when I did my meditation, I asked, what? Why? What? Why? It came out very clear from my Akashic records. I read my own Akashic records, and it was so that you and your family can learn to live with love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude for everything and everyone, even the ugly, almost more so for the difficulties that cause us to grow. And so when I look at the history of my life, it's not as devastating as many people, but it's certainly not a pretty history. I'm grateful. I now sit in gratitude for the life path that I had, the people who, came in to teach me very difficult lessons and take away from me what I had to gain back. And it taught me that I'm so grateful to be who I am today, because now I have a voice. Now I know myself and I like myself. I could never say that for almost 59 years, 50 years at least. I couldn't say that I liked myself. I certainly couldn't say that I loved myself. And when the joy came into my life and I learned about love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude, I became a different person. I became the person I always wanted to be that I never thought I could be. And the opportunity to now turn around and reach over the chasm to those who are flailing and being destroyed by the winds and the waves of life, I'm able to say, hey, come here. Let me tell you something. I wait for the invitation because our good dear friend Katie Steinle, who's a genius in human design, helped me find the mantra of my life is wait for the invitation. Because when you don't wait for the invitation, you're speaking on deaf ears. And I mean, when I wait for the invitation for somebody to say, so what is it that you do? Or how do you do this? Or then it's a little tiny crack that I just slide in with the basic premise of joy in the midst of chaos, love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude for everything. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm online. That's why I have my company, SoulZen For Life, and my program, the Freedom Program, to help people find out what happened to me that I need to work through. Because there's things in our past that we're unaware of. There's childhood memories we're unaware of. Even losing a coloring contest. Did I already tell that story? Tell me if I'm repeating myself. If the things that happen as children aren't always traumatic and dramatic. They're just things that happen. But if we don't know how to deal with them as children, we can just say, okay, I'm not going to deal with it because I know how to. And then eventually 20, 30, 40, 50 years out later, or the whole entire time, that comes seeping out of your personality. And that was my profound insecurity and wanting to hide and not be seen, and then creating a persona that would please everybody around me, but was not representative of who I was. These are the things that I've learned since October 17th of 2017 in the Amazon rainforest, when I found my talisman, if you will. I found my butterfly in the forest that I thought was a leaf. And it was after a very long, arduous 21 days with friends who had come down for a tour down here, and I had twisted my ankle and I was injured. I was lumping through the Galapagos, the Quito, the beaches of Ecuador, down to the rainforest with a cane and torn ligaments, and it was awful. By the time I got to the rainforest, I was like, I'm not doing anything here. I'm not doing anything. I actually trumping through the rainforest to get to our resort. I was cursing myself as some stupid fat white woman who has no business to be here. What am I doing? With a few expletives in between each word. And I was drained. I was at the end of my rope. Very low point. And I got to the cabana and I said, I'm staying here for the 4 days. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to stay here, and that's it. And as I was walking up the stairs to the cabana, it was a beautiful place, and there was this yellow leaf on the porch, and I wanted to kick it off, but I couldn't because I was out of balance. I thought, tomorrow. So the next morning I woke up at the crack of dawn, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll try the first event. So I went outside, plumping down the stairs, and there's that leaf, and I was like, I don't know why the leaf made me mad. I've never been angered by a leaf before or since, but I wanted to kick that leaf off the porch, something terrible. Couldn't do it because I was off balance. So I went off to the first event. We ended up going to 1,500 feet in the Amazon canopy, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And the things we saw, the howler monkeys, the just beautiful. And I realized that if I had not gotten up and gone out, I would never have seen this, because I would have never gone back. It's not one of those trips that, I'll go next year. I would have never seen that again. And I thought, I just needed to get up. So I was going back, as fast as I could. When we got back to the compound, I was trying to go to the cabana to wake I'm sure he was up by then, but to get my husband to say, we're going, I'm doing everything. And as I was going upstairs, I looked down, and that yellow leaf wasn't a yellow leaf. It was a yellow Amazonian butterfly. And at that very moment, when you get hit with your epiphany, it comes in full. And I stood there looking at it, and I realized what I heard was, I've been spending my whole life looking down, trying to avoid the pitfalls of life. And it's time to look up and enjoy life and let go of all the history, let go of the roots of my past that have been tripping me for my whole life. And so I picked up that butterfly and violated all international rules, and it's now mounted in my grandson's room. And all the way back. We were there for 4 days, and on the speedboat back up to where we're coming back to Quito, I literally dictated the introduction to my book. It just came in. It just came in, and it's, you know, part of it's on my website, and that was my call to arms. That was like, no more of this. And because I'm human, I went back to the United States and proceeded to, you know, destroy that which I wanted to create, and went through a really, really tough year of adjusting. And, you know, just because you have been touched by something doesn't mean you're cured. You have to do the work. And my work was skinning my knees, you know, bunking my head, all the things that we do when we're trying to figure our stuff out, but we don't know how. And then settling down to a point where I said, what do I need? What am I going to do? And at the end of this year of trial, my husband and I had nothing. And we're trying to figure out how to finish the project here, and what am I going to do there, and I need a job. And it was a very dark time. And then my natural mother passed away, and 911 of 2018. And I ended up being her sole beneficiary. And within 2 days, we went from not knowing where we're going to live or how we're going to live. My husband had come back to the United States, and I was renting a room until we figured out what we were doing. And within 2 days, I owned a home and a car, and all the blessings that came from the chaos of Judy's passing. And it was there when I moved into that home that I had the time to be alone and really search and really find, and found a gentleman at a Mystic Soul Ritual Shop in Oceanside, California. And he was doing Reiki. Speaking of Reiki, he's doing Reiki on a guy. And I knew nothing about crystals. I knew nothing. But I did know about Reiki, and I had a bum shoulder, and I'm looking at crystals and I'm watching, and he got done and I was like, excuse me, sir. I said, is that Reiki? And he said, yeah. I said, oh, do you do Reiki here? He's like, no, I'm just visiting. I'm just passing through. I'm a client, a customer. I said, oh, okay, thank you. I went back, and he came over to me and didn't notice. And a couple of minutes later, he said, excuse me. He goes, do you have pain in your shoulder? And I was like, is Cat in the camera? I'm aging myself. And so I said, no, it's my left shoulder. And he said, well, could I do some Reiki on you? And I said, heck yeah. So he came over, he did his Reiki, and I was just a lump. And afterwards I said, thank you. We started talking. And it was this gentleman that said, he told me a lot. And he just happened to be passing through Oceanside at that time. He was from Texas. This is how synchronicity works. When you need something and you're searching for it, and your intent is to learn and to be better, it comes into you. That synchronicity is like, here, take this. And I took this. And this gentleman gave me some foundational information. He recommended to me, listen to Cryon, channeled by Lee Carroll, which is where I got Cryon. Read The Untethered Soul by Salinger. And there was a third thing, can't remember it, but those two things came in, stayed in, and that's what I followed. And at the end of when he was ready to go, he shook my hand and he pulled his hand back. And then he took my hand again. He goes, you know what? You don't know this, but you're going to be a great healer. There are many types of healing, and just keep doing what you need to do. And then he left. I never saw him again, never talked to him again. And that was the spark that came out of really the death of my natural mother. I would never have met him. There's other ways, obviously, for enlightenment and to bring yourself into alignment. But this is how my path started. Unexpected, unbeknownst, completely in the blue. And that's when I started to put the things together. And listening to Cryon led me to, he was talking about the Akashic Records. And I thought, Akashic Records? What are you talking about, Akashic Records? And sure enough, when I went into the Akashic Records on Google, the fifth or sixth line down was the Akashic Academy. And from there I went. I learned how to read the Akashic Records from Emily Harrison at the Akashic Academy. And I learned so much. Of course, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to learn everything and start a business and do all this stuff. And, you know, source, creative source, my soul, all those, my guides, my ancestors are there to tap it down and say, okay, horse, let's not get ourselves going too fast, because I wanted to be on solid ground, not on sand. And it was 7 years ago, as a matter of fact, October, November, 7 years ago, that this whole story started. And to learn that what you need, you get, including things that you may not want, We don't always want what we need, and we don't always need what we want. But love and light and energy and the whole entire scheme of things will bring us exactly what we need when we need it. And if we can perceive that chaos, back to the joy in the midst of chaos, if we can perceive the chaos as a blessing and an opportunity to grow, and our goal is to grow and not just be feeling great and comfortable and doing what we want to do, then the opportunity to become everything that you've ever not even imagined you could be comes into your persona. And that's how I live now. Again, human, not perfect, but I know how to have love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude for me first, because I can't give what I don't have for myself. And to learn how to love yourself is an acceptance of all the things that are combined into being you. How to have compassion for yourself is understanding that I did the best I could, even though I have a litany of errors. It's hard to raise 3 children in the tumult that I was creating and not make mistakes. And having compassion for me, knowing that I did the best I could, leads me to forgive myself for the things that I did knowingly and unknowingly that were off the mark, were out of resonance with who I should have been. And after that forgiveness comes gratitude. Because when I look at the path behind me and the jagged edges and the cliffs and the valleys and the high moments and the beauty and the ugly, I'm grateful for everything, because I've been able to alchemize it into the gold of who I've become as a person. And that is a satisfaction. That's the peace that passes all understanding. I have a religious background. I was in the church for 20 some odd years, know the Bible, taught the Bible. And so and I loved my religion. I really did. As I got older and older, I couldn't jive it anymore. I couldn't figure out. I didn't match with it. I fell out of resonance. And I thought it was very sad, because I thought I had to give it up. I had to give up Jesus and God and the Bible, and it didn't take me long.
And you don't have to, do you? Because it's all part of the same ball of wax.
It is. And it's a matter of perception. And the Bible is a wonderful teaching. And I'm not going to get into is it real? Did it really happen? Is it metaphor? Is it human stories? Because energy, light and love and energy surpasses the intent of anybody who may have taken the beauty of what happened and turned it into a social control mechanism. But religion still heals. Religion still puts relationships back together. Organized religion of all types, Buddhism, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, all of them have healings. And so, what religion did, I am an anthropology major, and I almost minored in religious comparative religion. And what I learned through that education, which was wonderful, was the common denominator in almost all religions, organized religions, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah, the golden rule, right?
The golden rule. If we could take that template and put it over humanity right now, which is what we're trying to do just by being better ourselves, imagine the things you wouldn't want to do if your goal was not to do what you don't want done to you. And when I implemented that, it was a slow crawl. And I still have times where the people who've come to my life to challenge me to be better, I still go through the human emotion, the human thought process, but then it becomes a choice. Do I want to read them the right act so they'll know that I'm right? Because really what they're upset about has nothing to do with me. The man on the road that cuts you off, flips you off, whatever. Can you have love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude for that person? That's basically where I start out with my clients, is love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude. Is I understand that this person who's acting like a fool on the highway is a reflection of God, because we are all part of the creative source. We are all one little mirror in the great mirror ball of life. And if he's a reflection of God, he may not be the best reflection of God, but he is a reflection of who the creative source is. So I love him for being that part of the creative source. It's not that mushy, oh my God, no. It's a reflection of, I love God. I love the creative source. I'm grateful for that. Therefore, this person is just learning how to be better. It may not happen in this life, but that does nothing to do with me. He doesn't know me. He's not cutting me off because he hates me. No. Then I go into compassion. Can I have compassion for this person? Heck yeah. What if he's driving to the hospital because his wife's having a baby? What if his son died? Well, I have no idea what's in this person that's causing them to do these crazy things. And the absence of that knowledge requires me to have compassion because I don't know. And the more I talk about when these women, I do these constellations with women, the family constellations that we work with, they tell me that they have this is who they are and this is what's happened. And I'm looking at them thinking, God, how would anybody ever know that the person I'm standing next to in the store is destroyed, is distraught, has no foundation of belief in anything, and they're struggling? I don't know that. So to have compassion for those that I do see acting less than stellar, and those that I just come upon in life, compassion means that it's okay for you to be you. Even if I don't agree with you, it's okay for you to be you because you have your whole tale of history behind you. Rhonda, you're pruning.
I was just thinking, it's so absurd, but Nancy looks after cats, and cats are like assholes a lot of times. I shouldn't say that.
Which is why we have any.
They can just act like
Not
pigs, right? They can just do stupid things, like they can knock stuff off the counters and just.
that is your perception.
That's it.
They may have a reason for it, but I'm just thinking about how much
Get your
compassion,
attention.
how much,
Shot with your own gun.
But Nancy, you do that with your cats. You must do the same thing with cats, and pets are
Yeah.
sort of like practice humans for us, I think.
Well, and that's why I chose the most challenging ones for others to understand the behavior, to help humans to relate to them in a better manner.
It's the truth. So with cats or dogs or mother-in-laws or brothers or sisters or spouses and kids, compassion allows us to say it's okay to be you. That's all we're saying is it's okay to be you. I don't agree with what you're doing. I may not agree with what you're saying, but it's okay to be you. And the third option is the forgiveness. Can I forgive whatever anybody's doing? Yeah, I can. I have to. I really have to, because it's the only way for me to heal and get past it is to forgive them for being and doing whatever they've done. 99.9% of the time, it's not a reflection of what I've done to them or who I am. It's a reflection of who they really are. And so when you pass through the forgiveness, you get to the gratitude. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for, I've already said that. I'm grateful for everything and everyone. Everything as a whole, yes, but individually, the high points and the low points in my life, I'm grateful for that power, the pressure, evolutionary pressure that pushed me to where I am right at this very moment. And without that gratitude, your ego can say, look what we did. And ego is a big thing in me, and I've worked hard at it, and I'm learning constantly and neutralizing constantly to understand there's ego that keeps us alive and there's ego that keeps us isolated. And I don't want to be isolated. I want to be alive, but I don't want to be isolated. And so when we come full circle and understanding myself and loving myself, having compassion for myself, forgiving myself, and being grateful for being me is the foundation towards true healing inside of anything that possibly could have happened to me, known or unknown. And when I did I did some past life work, I found some very interesting things. And it makes me feel like, oh my God, that's why. Because my mantra for many years was, I don't know why. I remember at 9 or 10 years old, my dad would say, where do you come up with this stuff? And at that age, I was like, I don't know where I come up with this stuff. And now I do. Now I know why I reacted and acted and reacted the way I did for years. And now I know what I had to learn to be the person that's not causing chaos in other people's lives. I want to have joy in the midst of any chaos, but I don't want to be the cause of chaos. I want to be able to find the light in the room and turn it up. And that's my goal, is to just be a better person. Rhonda, you guys have been doing this for years. Our dear Katie, I know so many people who've been doing this, the podcasts that I watch. You're all professional. You do the work. You've done the work. And, well, professional in that here you are. Seasons are you in?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, some of your guests have a resume that's miles long of exciting work and studies and travels and trips. And I'm just me. I don't have I don't have the certificates, the knowledge, the deep shamanic power. I'm me. And I am similar to the majority of humans on this earth, no matter what culture you're in. I'm doing what I need to do to help others. And the best thing I can do to help others is just be better myself. Because if I'm better myself, then I'm not sharing negativity with anybody. I'm part of the solution more than being a part of the problem. And in making myself better, I found a way to, like I said, reach across and say, hey, come on over here and look at this. And I'm proud to not be perfect, because if I was perfect, I wouldn't give a rat's butt about anybody else. And I can't say that's true.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I think if you were perfect, you would give more of a rat's butt about everybody, because you'd be perfect. But, what I wanted to say is, since I've known you in 2020 and I met you, you've aged backwards, number one. There's a different light in your eyes than there was back then.
There's light, period.
Yeah, so much light. But what I want, I know you have some specials going on, or like a program that you want to offer to people. So could we just talk about that for just a wee bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that little program. So
when I came back, it was right after Mount Shasta, and I believe it was the Mount Shasta you were at. And I was in Chicago at the time, Granny Nanny, and I had a reading from one of the participants after the event, and a big 12-month tarot read. So I was full of this information. But I was in 2020. I was actually the event coordinator. I was not a participant, so-called. But I picked up so much. I learned so much from not only from Emily Harrison, but from the group. I was just taking so much in. And so during the reading, she told me that after this, you need to go into a meditation, because you're going to get a download. It's something is coming into you, and you need to be ready for it, and write it all down and don't stop until it's done. And I was like, yeah. And I hung up, but then, I was a Granny Nanny. So I was an hour and a half before I could come back downstairs and get into the meditation. And then at that time, I was so new that I thought, gosh, I wonder if I've lost my download because I didn't do it right away. I would analyze things, overanalyze things, and lose the energy. So this time I thought, you know what, I'm just doing it. And I sat down and I went into my meditation. And to this day, my greatest treasures are my journals. The whole history. The first journal I had was actually a journal that I had found in my mother's home when I was going through her stuff. And to read those journals, those 3 or 4 journals I have, are a delight to see where I was and where I'm at now. But anyway, this day I sat down with my journal and I wrote as fast as I could. But I didn't realize, it just was automatic, almost automatic writing. And at the end, when, it's like, okay, what else? And I just sat there and said, thank you. And I didn't know about joy in the midst of chaos. And I didn't know about, love, compassion, forgiveness, and gratitude. And I just sat there and I was so grateful. And then I read what I had written, and it was a format on how to clear your ancestral karma, because karma energy is in the Hindu system. Karma is the energy of lessons that need to be learned or have been learned, unlearned lessons. They can be negative, they can be positive. And when you have karma from your ancestors, because it is linear, it can affect you. It can knock you for a lulu. I didn't know. This was one of the things I learned through clearing karma, was that I've always been afraid of snakes, spiders, and falling. And I can picture myself on a tall building and looking over and start to go, oh gosh, not my thing. Spiders and snakes, I don't think I need to explain why I don't like those, but it was a super heavy aversion to spiders and snakes. And it seemed to be coming to a point. In Ecuador, we have tarantulas, and I've got them in my house. So the process was, I'm glad I went through the process. But in one of my meditations, I wanted to find out, where is this coming from? Why is it so profound? And it would take my joy of a beautiful natural, there's a trail. It's a trail that goes about 10 kilometers, about half a mile behind where we live. And I love to walk there. But when I first got here, I was constantly looking for something. Even the law of attraction, if you're looking for it, you're going to find it. And so I did this meditation to find out, because maybe I was thrown into a pit of vipers and spiders when I died. Maybe that's why I have this fear. And so I did this meditation, and that's not what happened. No, I was the thrower of people into the pit of snakes and spiders.
Okay.
So when you learn how to follow the path of your fears, the hitches in your giddy up, again, I was raised by parents who were 2 generations older than me. When you get to the nut of the meat, you get to the meat, and you realize, oh my gosh, that's why. And I said, don't ask why, ask what do I need to learn? Yet with karma and with drama and trauma, either from your childhood, from birth until about 7 or 8 years old, that's your concrete. That is your concrete. And when you have trauma or drama in those years, generally, if it's not dealt with at the time, which is how many people really can deal with their childhood trauma as a child, and how many parents really have the insight to help the child through. Now it's getting better, much better with parenting the way it is now. But if the trauma happens in your youth, it becomes part of who you are, and it comes out of every pore, every verb, every word, and it is part of who you are. Also, there's trauma and drama in the lives of your ancestors that comes down the line, and all of a sudden I've got the weight of 1,000 years of inappropriate sexual contact and abuse from ancestors that is the persona of my tragedy. And so when you find these reasons, sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't, but when you do find a nut of truth about the spark that started that, you can really look at it. And the program that came to me, that was given to me, the freedom program, is how to be free from tripping on the roots of your past, both of this life and past lives, and karma from your ancestors. And so when I started developing that, and I wrote out the program, and I in concert with some studying I did, also on clearing karmic clearing patterns, this program just came right out, and I put it into draft format, and I started to create the verbiage that would go along with the lessons. And then I hit a wall because my drama was nobody's going to want it. How embarrassing to go online and introduce a program and offer it, and then nobody comes, or they think of all of these, this negativity, this boom, 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 this subconscious memory of negative actions and reactions from people in my past made me think, I can't do it, I'm stupid, I shouldn't be doing this. But I did it anyway. And I had a lot of good people. I mean, Rhonda, Katie, Tanya, Kat, Emily, so many good people by my sides. And if I'm missing somebody's name who helped me and is on the show, know that in my energy, I'm thankful to you, but a lot of support of people. And I would call people up, in crisis, and they'd walk me through it, and I'd feel so much better. And now I can be that for other people. But ultimately, I had to get to a point where I was going to say, I'm comfortable with who I am. I've been given this gift of life that I've come through, and I speak firsthand about how I have found joy in the midst of chaos. And I need to help people do that because there's a lot of chaos out there. And so I never went online and I never did all the advertising that you do, but every single client that I have had has come to me through synchronicity. Mm-hmm. And I was at the volcanic hot springs here in Ecuador. And I was, in the hot springs is lovely. And the friend I was with was talking to this lady who had like a tape on her shoulder and for support. And they started talking. And then my friend was telling her about healing and her niece next to her. We just started talking. She became my client. This woman in the hot springs was from Long Island, New York. And it went home after that. About half a year, maybe a year later, we got into contact, and she's a client. That's synchronicity. That's being willing to put it out there and just say, okay, whatever you want to do with it.
So Jen, what does this look like for someone to be able to sign up to be your client?
My website, SoulZenForLife.com. It's called the Freedom Program. It is on my website.
And is this like a one-time appointment? Is this a series of appointments?
It's a course of 6 to 8 weeks, depending on what we're working on. So let's go with an 8-week. My goal now is to have a group. I do one-on-ones. It's obviously a little more expensive, but I do one-on-ones, and we will go through 1 hour a week of learning and training. And there's homework to be done. There's a process of looking through. I use the 5 Reiki principles, and that's what came up through this. Is the 5 Reiki principles is for today. I will not be angry. I will not worry. I will be grateful. I will be honest, and I will be kind. Those are the 5 Reiki principles. And those 5 Reiki principles turned into finding out what are your triggers, what's making you angry, what do you worry about, what are you grateful for or that you don't have. how is your honesty? When do you lie? And are you kind? And when you look at yourself through this magnifying glass of these 5 principles, you can find what your soft points are. What are your triggers? What's causing you to fall over? And as we do, there's 3 projects that we go through of looking at, what happened. It essentially is the writing process is, what do you want in your life? What would you like your life to look at like? And what would you not want your life to look at? And how will you be if you attain the things that you're wanting? And how will you be if you get rid of the things that don't serve you? And then the meditation that we do is finding out, for me, it was procrastination. I wanted to be able to trust my decisions. For years, 59 years, I couldn't just trust my own decisions. I just acted and reacted. And so when I found that, I did a meditation to find out, why do I procrastinate? Why? And the meditation was losing the coloring contest when I was 6. And that's why I decided that no matter how hard I tried, it would never be good enough. And that became part of my own energy. And when I neutralized that, I realized, oh my gosh, now I don't question my decisions at all. It's a wonderful feeling. And I don't always make the right decision, because sometimes it's, in a flip a coin situation. But I use my guides, I use my gut. And even if my decision is incorrect, I stand behind it because it was what I did at the time.
And the ideal student for this class, what does that look like?
Say that again, I'm sorry?
Like the ideal student.
The ideal student, it's very funny you asked that, because I was thinking of me. I want me's. I want all of me's, women who are, who just are missing something, just not satisfied with who they are. Truth be told, it's people, not women. It's people who are not satisfied with who they are, and they need to be better. I just want to be better. And they answer the questions. I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I keep doing this, when they're searching for answers. But ironically, when I wrote my program and my messaging, if you will, it was targeted at me. Mm-hmm. But my very first client was a 30-year-old single young man from Southern California. And and I didn't work the program with him. I was a life coach for him. I ended up being a life coach. That's why I say I'm an Akashic life coach, guiding people through the SoulZen Freedom program. But this young man, we taught each other. Number one, I got to share my stuff with somebody who really was completely irrelevant, but he really grew as an individual and came to understand energy and the physics behind what we all believe in. Mm-hmm. The next client I had was his father, who was 59 at the time. So my very first clients were not representative of anybody that I had my eyes on. And I'd worked with his father for over a year. And he called me probably a couple times, maybe in the last couple of months, to tell me just how grateful he is. I mean, I was on the phone with him after his nephew committed suicide. I walked him through the loss of other family members. And I used the program. He did the work. And it was wonderful to watch him transform. And then to get calls from him telling how wonderful his life is, and his life is, I mean, it's like, wow.
Okay, these people weren't you, but were they maybe your ancestors?
Who came to me to work with me? That's a really good question. I don't know that. But to me, it's like, I got what I needed at the time, even though and this is another thing I've learned recently, is when you pursue your passion, again, as this is Bashar talking, when you pursue your passion without expectation. So my passion is to help people deal with the trauma and drama that's caused their life to go. And when I pursue that passion, the things that I need will come to me. But if I put, I'm going to do this, but I'm only going to do it on Mondays at 3:30, and I'm going to wear white, and you put all these expectations, and I'm going to get 10 clients a month, you've cut yourself out of what the true potential is. And so that's why when you ask, are they past relatives? Very possibly. There's a karmic connection, obviously. Mm-hmm. I believe strongly in the karmic connection of everybody that comes into, quote unquote, my field. And after that, then I had a very dear friend of mine who came to work with me. And to hear these people learn, and to watch them learn and grow for themselves, not to repair a marriage, not to save this or get the job or make the money, is to look at themselves and go, gosh, I really am okay. I'm not as bad as I thought I was. And so I've the clients I've worked with have just been amazing, willing to do the work.
And you said the next session
The next session is going to start, where are we? August 11th.
August 11th, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it'll be I don't want to say September 11th, although that's a good day for me because of a lot of things. But about the first or second week in September, and what my goal is, rather than one-on-ones, is doing a group. So I have a group together for the learning, and then depending on who the group is, the dynamic and that kind of thing, we'll decide if a group meeting like another hour or half hour, probably an hour later in the week, to discuss the projects to help them move and answer questions. So it'd be one group meeting where we're learning questions. It wouldn't be without being, it's like us right now, an interactive Zoom versus just watching. And so as we go through the lessons and then they do their homework, they have questions, we go over those on a later Zoom in the week. When I'm working one-on-one with a person, we spend a little more time. We spend about an hour and a half a week. And then if they need a 30-minute pickup to answer questions or ask questions, then we do that. So it's usually 2 times a week. Everything's recorded, so people can listen to the lessons and not participate if they don't want to, and they can submit questions on to me on emails, because it's fluid. I understand how when I used to have questions, I didn't know where to find answers, and I finally met people who are willing to help me. I would send them a text message, and I'd get an answer right back. And over the years, I've learned how to settle and find those answers for the most part myself. But when you're really learning and you're growing and you're reaching out, I want to be available. So it's 1 hour of learning, half an hour to another hour of feedback if it's necessary, and it goes for 6 weeks. And there's 3 projects. And the projects cover, who are you? What do you get angry about? What do you worry about? What are you grateful for? How's your honesty? What do you lie about? And why are you kind? And if not, why? And that project helps us understand who we are and why. Why are we doing this? So we ask them,
do you have a certain amount that you take into a class? Like, is 8 your number, or
I don't have a limit.
Openings?
No, I don't have a limit, because
I
don't need to. And in the Zoom, again, you can have 100 people, and although you're not going to do a back and forth wire, but you're able to have communication, and then class notes on the side and stuff that I would send out also. So it depends on how many people respond, and some people don't want to go through their stuff in public. They want a one-on-one. And some of this trauma is very deep. We do meditations. I do, I
want to do it quietly versus being in the class.
Yeah, and helping them reach out to other people that can now teach them. It takes a tribe.
Yes.
Recently, one of the most difficult things I've had to deal with lately has been my husband's health. And we thought in California earlier this year that he was having another heart attack. And it drained me for about 36 hours. And I was at my lowest point. Rhonda, you know this. When we got the all clear, this is not what we think it is, he's going to be fine, I had nowhere to go. I was spent, exhausted, emotionally distraught, emotionally drained, and shaking. And then I started to cry. And I kept thinking, you can do this, because everything we have in ourselves. But I thought, no, I can't do this. And it's not maybe I can't do this. It's like, I don't want to do this alone. I need help. And my first thought was Katie, our dear Katie Steinley, because she's helped me through. We're so symbiotic. But then there was something inside me that said, no, not Katie. And Rhonda, right here in my third eye was Rhonda Reiki. Rhonda Reiki. And it's like, oh my God, dare I? Do I just call straight out? Or she's in Canada and and I thought, you know what? Minutes, this woman said, give me 30 minutes, I'll be right there with you. And I sat there and I held on. And I told my husband, just ignore me if I'm crying, I'll be fine. I have someone come to help me. And dude, on Zoom, I don't even think we're on Zoom. I think we were just on whatever.
We're on Messenger. Just on Messenger.
I put my phone down, I had my hearing things in, and I could feel the energy come in like this from the top. And I'm still feeling it again, the gratitude, even though I was still trembling, the gratitude of you showing up for me with what you have as a talent. And at the end, the light was on, the tears were gone, the joy in the midst of chaos was back in my soul. And it wasn't 30 minutes long. It might have been 15 minutes. And that's what I want to be in the world for other people.
Yeah.
I want to meet
them. It's okay to ask for help.
To restore them to where they can be the best version of themselves. Okay. Sound like a commercial, but that's what my program is.
The channel of light. That's all. Just a channel of light.
You
bring in the light source. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you need.
And the clients will get an Akashic Records reading if they're so inclined and they need it. And I do tarot cards during the sessions. And I don't want to say it's ad lib because I do have slides and I have not a script. I have a program that I go through and I explain. I go all the way very back to what is energy? Who is God? And if people have a religious background and are open to learning, I can tailor my message through their understanding of the Bible. Which is why I said the peace that passes all.
Like a great class.
I think it's Timothy. Yeah. Is a talisman of peace. Is there's a peace that I can't explain, but I can certainly enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's what I wish to bring to other people.
Cool. So we can find you at Zen for Life and
SoulZen For Life.
SoulZen For Life. The links are in the bio, or in the description of the video or podcast, depending on how you're listening today. And I guess, Nancy, did you want to ask? I didn't prep Jen for the question.
Oh, no, we didn't prepare for the questions.
She'll do it. That's okay.
I'm an ad-libber.
Yeah. Okay.
You go.
All right. So question number 1, you're getting ready to go on stage and you're getting all aligned and getting your energy ready. What's the song you hear in the background to get you ready?
Ooh. The Mystery of Your Gift by Josh Groban.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
That flowed very easily.
I had to listen to it 10 times before I could listen to it without crying. And now it brings my soul back into everything that I want to be. The Mystery of Your Gift by Josh Groban.
Cool.
All right. Now, what is your favorite crystal to work with at this time?
For me, ¿cómo se llama? Pink quartz, rose quartz. This is my little rose quartz skull.
Okay.
And my little rose quartz skull was blessed to sit in the presence of the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull for about 5 hours.
Okay.
So this guy's hot on fire.
It's perky.
Yeah.
And the third one is, have you had any visitations from extraterrestrial visitors?
Visitors, no. But in the experience that I've had was in 2020 in Shasta. And as the event coordinator, I was going back to my cabin and there was a group of women like this. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And Rhonda they were Stargate. They were shipping.
Yep. I heard about that.
and I was like, oh boy, here we go. Okay. And they said, come here, Jen. I was like standing there and we froze on our necks and we did everything we could to get comfortable and nothing. And then at the very end, because Rhonda's communicating. And Rhonda said, okay, we're cold, we're tired, we're old. Can you please give us a flash of light? And through the trees over here, I saw this flash of light. And I was like, and everybody's like, oh my God, did you see that? I was like, I didn't see it. I kind of saw, but I don't see it. And I was like, damn. And then Rhonda said, okay, Jen's a non-believer. She needs to see it. Please send us a green light for Jen. And I'm looking and I'm telling you, right in the center, this fluorescent green, almost like the bouncing ball used to be. It lit up, and it went whoop, 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 and then it stopped, and then it went boom, 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 and took off at Star Trek warp speed. Beautiful. And then Rhonda even said, send a green light. And afterwards, I was like, and Rhonda's like, thank you. Okay, we can go to bed now. I was like,
perfect.
And I knew when you know.
And we only had cacao that night, honestly.
It was beautiful.
That's awesome.
And so that's the only, I have seen other ships. I have seen the rovers, the movers, but no actual contact.
Beautiful.
I think when we go to the Akashic Records, we get contact all the time.
Yes.
Anyways, lovely. Thank you so much for being with us today, Jen. And
thank you guys for having me.
See you in the celestial circle later, hopefully. Yeah. Thank you, Nancy, for joining us today. And thank you for your kitties for being behaved.
Perfection today. Let's not brag.
Thank you both very much.
I shouldn't say I have a cat, so just so people know I'm not a cat hater. I love cats.
No, she's not.
My cat, threw a spatula on the floor and my dog ate it this week. So I'm not happy with either one of them. Had both idiots. But thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. Next week, Kim Van Sandy is going to be our special host.
Okay.
And thanks, Kim, for dropping in from the Netherlands to watch today. And hope you all have a great time. Have a wonderful day in Ecuador. And I hope it's sunny and warm. And yeah, get out and dream, you guys, like the snow globe was telling us. And have a great week this week.
Bye.
Thanks. I'm just trying to get my tech going because I can't talk and do tech at the same time. Thanks, guys. Bye.